Hey Swell, today marks the 63rd death anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. It was on the 30th of January 1948 when the leader of India's freedom struggle was assassinated in New Delhi, and safe to say that his legacy lives on. I just want to give you a quick update and let me know if you've read any of Gandhi's works or perhaps subscribed to his philosophy.
I am particularly not fond of Gandhi, especially as a Punjabi Sikh. I feel like his efforts and what he did caused way more destruction and genocide than if he wasn't around. It even seemed like, his movement of, passive, nonviolent, whatever was, that's not why the British actually got, overwhelmed and left. Is that they were fighting in World War II, and then they were starting to have to fight Indians, with the Punjabis and the Bengalis starting to fight back. And if it wasn't for that, they probably would still be in India controlling it. And they kind of are. When Gandhi got power, they split Hindu state and Muslim state, creating Bangladesh and Pakistan and India, and that literally millions of people died when they decided, let's divide these countries by religion. And mind you, Gandhi, this is your India, right? You get to put your face on the rupee, right? So, I mean, I don't think the Western audience and world knows that. I don't think the Indians think about that like, hey, partitioning India was one of the worst ideas ever. It literally caused million people to die, and a forced migration and people losing their land. My ancestors got their land taken away from them because of Gandhi's decision, along with the other people he was sitting down with making a decision. I mean, divide and rule is something that the British have used for a long time. Gandhi studied with the British. It's not like he, sat there and studied with and even took time to spend energy with Indian revolutionaries. I mean, there's some amazing revolutionaries in the teens, the 20s, the 30s of 1900s. He wasn't people didn't like him in those spaces where they were trying to vie for Indian independence. So I think sometimes we need to kind of look at history with a little bit more, a little bit more critical thinking, because think about, the idea that Gandhi kind of proposes in our culture. It kind of makes everybody passive. Like, let's just not do anything and things will change. Nothing has ever changed that way. No oppressive forces or colonial forces have ever left because people are just sitting around and passively not doing anything and getting weak and skinny. They leave because they get pressured to leave, and they leave because people come together with force. And that force doesn't have to be violent, but the force of like community and people coming together and not being divisive based on religions or anything, but actually bringing people together of all walks of life to practice interfaith, interdisciplinary freedom. And I think, if you're going to look at Gandhi, you should probably look into Bhagat Singh. He's probably somebody good who's an alternative perspective of understanding why the British might have felt their bandwidth was, they're too much bandwidth, having to deal with all their all their colonies starting to fight back while being in a world war where they pretty much got their butt kicked by Germany.
Hey, indeed. Thank you so much for that response. I see your point. A lot of people do feel the way you feel, and I'm not really endorsing Gandhi in the sense that, he was India's freedom, the best freedom fighter in India or anything like that. I just sort of wanted to spotlight Gandhian philosophy and just to see what people think about him. And then earlier as well, I did mention another leader called Ambedkar, who also is known for his opposition to Gandhi. And you're completely right. There are a lot of problematic, big, deep problems with what Gandhi said and espoused. There's no doubting that at all. But personally for me, it's just sort of vegetarianism, and not that I'm a vegetarian, but vegetarianism and just sort of minimalism. These types of ideas appeal to me from a moralistic standpoint, not more so from a practical standpoint, right? Something an ideal that I should aspire to. But thanks for bringing up Bhagat Singh. I'm a huge fan of Bhagat Singh. I've read a lot of his book. There's a book called How to Make the Deaf Hear, and it is a biography of Bhagat Singh. And in addition to Bhagat Singh, there are a lot of other leaders as well. And historically speaking, Gandhi was actually opposed to the partition of India. But you're right that he was educated abroad. He had a lot more in common with the British in that sense, because he was a barrister in London and South Africa. And also there are deeply problematic instances where he was seen to be racist in Africa when he spent time there. A famous story about when he was in prison in Africa and, he didn't want to share his prison cell with another African. Things like that, for sure. And I think, every figure in history is problematic. There's the good and the bad. And, I was trying to focus on the good, but I get what you mean in the sense that Gandhi isn't the whole story. He's a part of the story. There are so many other leaders. I'm from the south of India, and we've had our share of leaders from the Dravidian movement and whatnot. So it's a very interesting space, and I'm going to try and spotlight more such leaders and bring up these types of discussions more. And thanks again. And if you have any other points in the sense that any other leaders that you think we should focus on, I would really appreciate it. And I definitely want to keep chatting with you about it. So cheers.